So, today on the Unsettled, we're going to be discussing the world's most famous skyjacker. And his name is...
D.B Cooper.
So, if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe, share, turn your notifications on, and...
Leave a message below.
What kind of message? Like...
Well, who their thoughts are, who they think it is, the points that maybe would start a discussion in the messages.
Oh yeah, you could do that, or you could just simply put in the comments below that he's a really bad gambler.
Wow.
Or maybe a really good one. How's your night been?
Not too bad.
Yeah, I thought it wouldn't be. Right, so today, as I said, we're discussing the world's most famous skyjacker, D.B Cooper, and we're just going to get straight into it, and then come up with our own theories, and possibly, not really, there isn't really a, what's the word, reason for this, other than money. Like, no one was harmed, there was no real, think of this as more as a timid part of the Unsettled, especially for today's episode. So we'll get straight into it. On Wednesday, November the 24th, 1971, a man going by the name Dan Cooper bought a $20 one-way ticket on Northwest Airlines. Sounds pretty straightforward. I wouldn't get a one-way ticket though. That would petrify me knowing I might not come back, but he obviously had a reason for not coming back, but you get where I'm coming from. That's not the point.
Yeah, but some people used to get a one-way ticket if they're doing it, like, in the long run. Like, if they work for a business, it's easier to claim back as a one-way ticket rather than a...
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, it wasn't like he was...
It's not uncommon for
back then
for people to buy a one-way ticket because they could always get a Greyhound bus or whatever back.
Yeah.
It's no...
He boarded the flight 305 to Seattle, Washington. Described in his mid-40s, business suit, raincoat, brown shoes, white shirt and a black tie. Seems smartly dressed for the occasion. He does, really.
He does. But then for a businessman, maybe not so much. You know, you've got to be presentable. You've got to be that aspect of it.
Yeah. He also carried with him a dark briefcase and a paper bag. Paper bag, maybe because
we might get through.
Yeah. We'll probably get through that bit. Before the plane took off, he was seated in 18C, if I'm not mistaken.
You're not. But there's three conditions for that one.
He's going to begin already. Go ahead.
No, some people like the mainstream.
Yeah.
Would say 18C.
Yeah.
Some are saying it's 14E, and some are saying it's 13B.
Should we just look up his plane ticket because it'll say what seat he's on?
Exactly. That's what they've done, and it says 18C. I think
okay.
It's purely because there was contradictory stuff out there, and I just wanted to say that. Obviously, we're just following the main bulk of percentage.
As he was seated, the air hostess asked him, "What would you like?" He simply asked for bourbon and soda.
Posh.
Very posh. Seems like a chilled out kind of guy.
What would you get on a plane and ask for a bourbon and soda?
I actually had a gin and tonic. And then I moved on to more of a tequila sunrise.
Well, it does taste different.
Then they offered me pretzels. Then I wish I didn't have the tequila sunrise. Yeah. But I bet he boarded that plane feeling $1 million.
I bet he did.
I bet he did. Like a fucking $1 million. Wish I was D.B Cooper. And not many carry a briefcase.
No.
That's a good point. Like, nowadays you don't see many people carrying a briefcase.
No.
And even if you do, it's kind of
if
London-esque.
Yeah, even if it's work related, they'd still put it in the overhead.
But then again, not many people order a bourbon and soda, do they really?
No.
Okay, so after the plane had taken off, after 5 PM, Cooper handed the air hostess a note. She took it and put it in her skirt pocket.
Yeah.
Cooper then got her attention and said, "Miss, you better look at that note."
Because she thought he was coming on to her, and it was just his number or whatever in the note, so she just...
Yeah.
And carried on talking.
Can you imagine that? There a note saying... And she just puts it in her pocket and walks off and you're like, oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Just...
Yeah.
I may need to tell her something.
So why not?
And what did he say?
He literally said, read the note and I have a bomb. More or less.
Awesome.
Putting it bluntly, I have a bomb.
Okay, so would you like another drink?
Yeah. Does that sound threatening? It doesn't. Unlike today, you'd put a gun to their head and be like, I'm going to hijack this plane. He literally just said it so calmly and collectively. Miss, I have a bomb. I mean,
okay.
Maybe times have changed. I wouldn't necessarily say, Miss, I have a bomb sounds threatening.
And to be fair, in response to that, she just turned to him and sat down next to him.
It's a very formal way to announce you have a bomb.
Yeah.
It's
Like, she sat down next to him and went, okay, can I see it?
And then he opened up the briefcase to reveal
4 red cylindrical tubes with silver caps and a timer.
And what was in those tubes? Food colouring.
Food dye.
But obviously back then you're not going to know.
No,
you're just going to see.
You're just going to see a timer. It's ticking.
I can't help but think all my money's just being eaten by animals.
That's a big one down here.
Oh my god. I've never seen so much money. I felt like a stripper. Wait, I felt like I was paying a stripper. Anyway.
We digress.
Yeah, so she sat next to him and he opened it up to reveal all the red coloured sticks, wires and a timer.
Yeah.
He used the air hostess to write down his demands and take it to the captain. I want $200,000.
$200,000.
By 5 PM in cash. Put it in the knapsack. 2 back parachutes and 2 front parachutes.
Yeah, it's first and secondary parachutes.
Yeah, but it was 2 back, 2 front.
Yeah.
He also demanded he wants a fuel truck ready. And he also stated in the note as well as in person, no funny stuff or I'm going to do the job.
Yeah.
That doesn't really sound threatening at all.
No. And this air hostess name was Florence Schaefer.
It doesn't sound threatening. I have a bomb. Miss, you better read the note.
It's a little bit too relaxed for the situation, I would assume.
One odd detail was he wanted the money in $20 bills. The flight landed in Seattle. He exchanged the passengers for money and parachutes.
Yeah, I'd like to
You add, I pick up money.
Yeah.
So I feel there's wads everywhere.
So yeah, basically when they landed at the airport, he ordered the pilot to taxi to a well-lit area. By this point it was pretty dark.
I feel like I've lost it.
You have lost it down there.
How many people are down here?
And so yeah, he told the pilot to taxi to a well-lit area. He shut all of the blinds down on the sides. Got it. To hide, basically, from police snipers. It was harder to snipe him out at that point.
It was.
Then once he, you got it. Okay. Good. So then once he obviously received the money and the parachutes.
Yep.
There was a slight hitch in the refalling.
Only a little one.
Only a little one though. It was what they call a vapor lock.
This is interesting. If you want to learn something, now's the time.
And so basically what it is the it's basically a backup of the fumes from the petrol. And as soon as the truck, basically the sensors on the truck, it shuts off the flow.
Yeah.
So then they had to reset that, vent the fumes, and then carry on pumping.
You also might want to add, when the air hostess and everyone else was on the plane, they got him his bourbon and soda and everything else, and when they came back, he managed to put on some glasses. Like actual sunglasses, and sat there calm as a fucking cucumber. And it felt like he had the whole world in his hand, and all this was so well planned. So far it's going amazingly. Yep. I mean, you can't fault his plan.
No.
You can't.
No. So when he did receive his
money,
the
and
money,
$20 bills,
the 4 parachutes.
Yeah.
He actually declined the first lot of parachutes that he was given.
Yeah.
Because he said, no, I don't want army issue parachutes.
Yeah.
I want like pedestrian parachutes,
Yeah.
like everyday parachutes that anyone would use. And a funny thing is, while they were basically circling beforehand, before they landed, he was noted to be by the window, looking down, and so that says, that looks like Tacoma down there. And their hostess obviously agreed, yes, that's Tacoma down there. And he was like, oh, there's an air base just up the road.
At this point, I think the air hostess is probably going, okay.
But he was talking very calmly. He didn't rush the situation. There was no sense of panic.
Which is a very odd thing for someone. Usually, if you're making threats and making demands, you want things done now.
You want it done now, you want it done quickly, and you want to...
You know, you're kind of
rushing
rushing to get the job done. Whereas this guy, Dan Cooper, was just, nope.
Take it as it comes. Take it as it comes.
So is that what you wanted to say on that bit?
Yeah, it was pretty much, he looked down at Tacoma and he actually said the airbase's name fully, and understood how long it would take, about 15 minutes in the car up the road from the airport.
Seems
and
like
he was like,
well.
that's McCord Air Force Base.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much.
Okay. Okay, so as he boarded the second plane, the plane took off towards Mexico City. Yeah. Now I would like to add, he never told the pilot what route to go in, like what route to get there.
No, he just said.
He just requested.
Mexico.
He requested that the plane would travel. What was it? 10,000 feet.
10,000 feet.
Nothing higher, nothing like lower. He requested 10,000 feet.
Yeah.
So maybe this is a weird, not a severe, but a really twist in the detail of his escape. It's one of them where you think like, why request?
Why 10,000 feet?
Yeah. I mean, as I said, he put on a pair of dark wraparound sunglasses. This guy seemed to be, I don't know, he's probably, I don't know, I suppose if he was alive, I'd probably get on with him. Sounds like a tough guy I'd get on with.
He sounds like, and I'm being funny here, but he does sound like the kind of guy that's just chilled.
He would probably sit in the centre of us,
and be like,
on our lap.
And just be like, yeah.
I'd be like, Dan, tell us how you managed to do this. And he'd probably be sucking on your tit and everything. After 8 PM, somewhere between Seattle and Nevada.
Before you go into this,
go on.
I would just like to say that the small thing is that, which we will hit on later on, but he did request to talk to the pilots and said, I want to take off with the aft stair lift down. And the pilots are like, we can't do that. And he's like, actually, you can. Now the very interesting thing is, the 727 from Boeing is the earliest, I would say the earliest plane that can take off and land
with that
aft stairwell open. And the door.
That's interesting. Very interesting.
Now Boeing didn't release this until they brought out the next jet, which is 747. I think it was. And so what I'm trying to say is, very minimal people knew you had to be within certain circles to realise that this jet was the first one of its class to actually be able to take off and land safely. So
are you now trying to hint that he knew how this plane worked?
I'm just saying it was
you're throwing it out there. You're throwing it out there.
Certain circles that you would think that you would actually.
He's throwing it. You got to catch it. If he throws it, you catch it. That's what you got to do. Shall I continue? Are we good?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get straight into it.
No, that's fine.
I'm not going to stop.
No, that's fine.
Got to get straight into it.
Yep.
Constant.
Let's go.
Okay.
Actually.
So yeah, as I was saying, after 8 p.m. somewhere between Seattle and Nevada, he jumped out the back of the plane with the parachutes and the money, never to be seen again.
Mm-hmm.
Very straightforward, very cleverly timed.
Mm-hmm.
But something's worth noting to most people: the tie he had on, he had removed, and we noticed it was a clip-on tie.
Yeah.
And we kind of went into that. The FBI managed to secure a DNA sample from it, but with some form of the DNA sample, it didn't really have much DNA on it.
It was a very partial.
It was not even a partial.
It was, as some investigators say, it looked like it was a full print that had been grabbed and smudged.
Yeah.
So it was like,
or it kind of come across. Maybe you can have some oil on your finger.
Yeah.
And you can
just it smooths over the.
Yeah, let's do some investigating and try and see who this guy could be. So, the investigation case was called NORJAC, standing for Northwest Hijacking, which is kind of a cool name.
Yeah.
I want to meet.
It's a good.
I want to meet D.B Cooper. I've decided. Over the decades, the plane in question was searched from head to tail in deep desperation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, one thing about his case that I always thought of: 10,000 foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say he jumps out. Could he possibly have had a? You know what? I'm gonna wait. The $20 bills caused interest as the serial numbers had all been exposed to the public, hoping someone would see them or find them.
Yeah.
Remarkably, in 1980, 9 years after Cooper jumped, a young boy found a package of notes, as we discussed previous to this, that matched the serial numbers. I think it was $5,800 in total.
Mm-hmm.
He found the bills on the beach in Tina Bar.
Yeah.
Tina Bar, that is correct.
Yeah.
Just one. People said when Cooper jumped out, the money landed or dropped into the what river did you say it was? I swear you called it a river, like a wash. No.
Yeah, it is the washer bar. They say it
Wash
could have
river, some form of river.
It basically it could have fallen into the. I think it's pronounced Washuba.
Okay. Washuba.
Yeah, so that's
pretty cool.
They only set up a fake dam, a man-made dam there recently, so it's plausible.
I mean, many people seem to believe it dropped into this river before the dragging downstream to the Tina Bar, which is another plausible thing. But I can just imagine, like I said to you, someone jumping out and all that money just coming out and they're like, shit!
Yeah.
It's like, fuck, and they just can't seem to grab it. It seems the most likeliest things. FBI searched beaches. They found nothing. In 1972, letters were sent to the FBI and to the leading newspapers. All claims along the lines of a confession or saying D.B. Cooper was dead or claims to be his brother. These I found interesting because you add to the mystery, but also if you survived and you just keep letting the world know that you're alive.
That you're still there.
That you're still there and you still want to keep rubbing it in their faces that they can't find you. And to me, that's even more interesting because I'm not being fun. If I was to do a plane hijack,
it to the law.
If I was to do a plane hijack, right, and I was to do this jump, and I was to survive this jump from 10,000 foot with all this money, I would keep, like, nowadays you'd email the police. You could be like,
well, even that's risky because they can trap you.
no, I'd change me server and everything, make it sound like I'm in Africa. Not that I'd ever go to Africa. On November 1972, 2 men was arrested for, say, impersonating to be D.B. Cooper. Donald Murphy and William Lewis. They also sold a fake story. Imagine people claiming to be this famous plane hijacker.
You can imagine so many people.
I can imagine D.B. Cooper looking at the news just going, they think that's me. Like, it just, I don't know. It kind of led the FBI.
It's the Colorado, the Columbia River.
Right.
Just, I believe, southwest of Washington, something
We'll run with it.
down there.
We'll run with it. So all these leads and the FBI and the police obviously started to go everywhere. Over 800 suspects to be exact, it was then narrowed down to 24. One strange fact was the name DB have no relevance to the case whatsoever.
Nope.
And no one knows where the DB come from, but it's fair to note the passport that was used to get obviously the plane ticket. Now obviously a lot of people do know this, a lot of people don't know it, and some people are new to this case completely. But his actual name was Dan Cooper, and no one really understood where that B came from. But it is said that on this plane ticket it was D, then she went to go to the C but hit the B, and then she hit the C and spelt Cooper out, so the whole B part.
Some also think that D.B Cooper is a pseudonym, like England would say a John Doe for someone that we don't really know who. But then a lot of people then stated that D.B Cooper then became America's John Doe because it's someone that's never been found. It's.
But if you look up the ticket that you can find online, it says D, then like in between the lines it says B, then Cooper. But if your name is Dan Cooper, that sounds really shit. D.B Cooper, on the other hand, that has a ring to it.
Sounds cool.
It has a ring to it. Tina and Florence, your air hostess, you seem to mention, spent hours on the plane with him. So the details they gave made a perfect sketch, nearly identical descriptions from both of them.
They were interviewed separately, I'd just like to say.
So it was 5'10", 170 pounds at best, mid-40s, late 30s, brown eyes. People on the ground gave very similar descriptions as well. So the people that were on the plane gave very similar to how, you know, he was going to be. Low voice, no standout accent, spoke with intelligence. I told you, this is a guy I can get behind. Kind of maverick.
Brown hair, combed too, quite very neatly. Clean shaven. I think you said brown eyes,
Brown eyes,
hazel eyes.
So, charges on Dan Cooper were air piracy. Of a 5-year limitation. So after 5 years, the jury said he has violated the Bob's Act, I think it's called. It's designed to prevent extortion with no limitations, meaning it found now, last year, next year, he would be charged. Basically.
The charges will still stand.
They
wouldn't be automatically dropped from the statute of limitations.
Despite, I mean, even like if it was found like last month or tomorrow, he would still be charged despite the FBI investigation called off. Like it has been called off.
It's been called off. It's been closed. But
if Dan Cooper's alive, do you think he's sat there watching his TV with all his money, right?
Which he can't spend because everyone knows that
if he was smart enough, he would have spent that.
He would take it offshore.
Like I said to you, you spend it in small amounts. You spend
but it would still flag up throughout the system.
It might do, but there's not going to be many places, like you said, if you were to go abroad, if you were to fly to England, it's not going to flag up so much there, especially if you do a transaction.
True. But I would say, when I say take it offshore, I mean like take it to places where I'm sure a lot of gangsters
Mexico,
have taken.
Perhaps.
Well, you don't know.
Mexico does ring a bell. It does ring a bell. But I can imagine Dan Cooper just sat there watching the TV, laughing at everything.
Sipping a beer because you can't drink the water in Mexico.
Probably have a bourbon. Bourbon or something.
Without the soda.
Just a bourbon. But I can imagine him sat there laughing at this. Laughing his head off. Right? Cooper requested his end destination Mexico City, so no one could have helped him as a pilot chose the route, no one else. So that was one thing I wanted to say. So it wasn't like the pilot was in on it. No, it wasn't like the air hostesses were in on it. They were simply doing their job. They were hijacked. It's that simple.
Yeah, I'd like to say though the president of the Western, what was it, the Western Orient?
It is the Northwest Airlines.
Yeah, so the Northwestern Orient, I think it's called.
Okay.
So the president, Donald Nero,
Yeah.
authorised the payment.
Yeah.
Of the 200,000.
Yeah.
And he also told all of the employees on the plane to cooperate fully. And be safe. But
Yeah.
Just
cooperate. They
get through it.
They didn't want to harm anyone, basically.
No. But he also afterwards made a claim to get the money back.
Yeah.
And the National Treasury only awarded him 180,000 because the 5,000 or whatever.
Yeah, it's a bit.
But back then,
yeah,
it was.
That's still a bit of a kick in the bollocks, though.
Oh yeah.
A bit.
But with the June inflation, because they made the claim so late as well, and with all the processing and stuff.
See, it seems like D.B Cooper had this all planned out up until the part where he jumped.
Would you like to know how much $200,000
Are you gonna tell
would
me?
be now?
Are you gonna tell me?
In today's money?
Are you gonna tell me?
Would you like to know?
Go on then.
1.2 million.
Are you stripping for the camera? I'll get the money back. Come on, boy. But it seems really
£1.2 million, like dollars. Sorry.
Yeah, it seems really well planned out up until the point he jumps, and then it seems to go tits up.
But does it?
Right. So the main suspect for this that the FBI thought was Richard McCoy. The FBI agents was almost certain it was him. In April 1972, they arrested him for the hijacking of a plane. It was known as the McCoy heist. Right?
McCoy's?
Yeah. It is very similar to the Cooper one. Both hijacked a plane, parachuted off, same jumping from the rear of the plane. Right? It gets worse, mate. Both, obviously, the plane was a Boeing 747.
727.
747.
Oh, so it's the up-to-date plane.
Yeah. Same as Dan Cooper. He requested 4 parachutes, same as Cooper. Stayed calm. Wait. Both
How many
passed.
years after? Was it a few years?
1972.
So it was like what?
This happened in 1971, a year later.
Okay.
Right? He requested 4 parachutes. He remained calm, as I said, right?
Yeah.
He both passed a note to the air hostess claiming, I have a bomb. Both notes contained the words, no funny stuff, or I'll do the job. Very, very coincidental evidence. Very, right? McCoy's family also identified an object on the plane that was left. Right?
Was it a tie?
An object that was publicly wasn't publicly identified. Apparently, it was a medallion from the university McCoy attended. But that could be bullshit. It could be very much bullshit, as that was more, it was just something that could have leaked. But I found that this guy in 1972, a year later, did the same thing that D.B Cooper did. Is it possible he was a copycat?
To me, that rings a bell with a copycat.
But
because why would you test your wit twice? And only a year
it's
later.
an easy hijacking. You got away with it once, mate. Got away with it once.
Well.
Okay, right. So eventually the FBI ruled him out. There you go. You happy with that?
No, I can.
Right, they ruled him out as a suspect. So Richard McCoy was not Cooper, as the descriptions did not match. But it was a year later.
Yeah, but you wouldn't change that much.
Right. And don't forget the descriptions was accurate on Dan Cooper. That's what I also put down. Although the two men look very similar, according to the FBI, McCoy was home in Utah that day and the day after the hijacking that Dan Cooper did. He was still sentenced to 45 years in prison.
Well, obviously.
But how cool is it to hijack a plane?
If you can get to the ground
I
without dying,
I will take the 45 years in prison.
I would take the 45. If
Just
I
to
got to the
hijack
floor, that's fine.
So-
without going splat.
So now you know, people, if a plane ever gets hijacked and we're away on holiday, it's us. Anyway,
I'm gonna make sure I get my passport stamped
a
everywhere.
kind of a little funny part to it. McCoy escaped prison, then was shot dead in a gunfight with FBI agents. Yeah.
Swings and roundabouts, mate. Swings and roundabouts.
Yeah. So our second suspect, who the FBI thought, was Dwayne Webber, who claimed he was D.B Cooper on his deathbed. His wife Jo claims in the last hour of his death he whispered to her, "I have a secret." She leant in very closely, wondering what this secret could be. She was very cautious of her husband, may I add, so this could have been anything of what he was about to say.
He was a very brutal man, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Can you imagine if he said I'm Jack the Ripper?
And that's our case blown wide
Yeah,
open.
isn't it? That's our case.
I'm a dirty little secret. When I went to London last week.
But as I was saying, Joe went on and said,
About 100 years before you even
apparently he leant forward and said that he was D.B Cooper. Right.
Yeah, but that's just one-upping the
Wait,
family.
yeah. But Joe went on and said he'd talk in his sleep mentioning leaving prints on a plane, which is kind of a weird thing if you're dreaming that, leaving fingerprints on a plane and you talk in your sleep saying it. Don't you think?
But for all we know, he could have an interest in the case.
Right. Also, he had a knee injury from when he was jumping out of a plane, which he had surgery on.
But that's within the law. I'd just like to say that one.
Okay. His handwriting was found in margins of books on Dan Cooper. So his handwriting was found in the books. Alright, it doesn't seem that much. He also took her to the Tina bar, and don't forget, money was found there. Okay. Joe
So he took her to the thing and went, you know what, I don't need this $5,000, and lobbed it over his shoulder.
Maybe he went there to collect it, you don't know.
Why would you bury $5,000 and you know you've got 195?
Because maybe he didn't have that. Maybe that is the part that he's like, oh shit, and it was flying up as he was falling. And
it's there, I'll come back for it later.
yeah, exactly. Right, Joe also claimed he had a ticket for Northwest Airlines with the initials on it, and she didn't know where he'd got it from. The initials stated D.B Cooper. You're going to rule this out. One of the FBI agents on the case said he fits the possible position of D.B Cooper. It has credibility, but
He did.
His wife could not find the ticket after he passed away and she moved house. One vital thing, the ticket. No one has found that ticket, so it could be plausible that he is telling the truth. Could be. My final suspect on this case is Kenneth Christensen. Kenneth's brother saw a TV show.
And then told his brother.
Yeah, pretty much.
I read that one.
Yeah, that showed the case of D.B Cooper and claims it was his brother. Yeah. Kenneth's deathbed confession stated, "You should know something, but I won't tell." Yeah. Kenneth was a flight pursuer. He worked as the same airline that was hijacked, so maybe inside job.
He worked for Boeing.
Yeah, maybe it was an inside job.
Maybe.
So maybe he loved bourbon. Just saying. He bought a house after the hijacking. An author who claimed it was Kenneth while writing his story
and wrote a book.
Case, right? Showed a picture to the air hostesses of Kenneth, and she said that's the man, although she said it may be the man, but I cannot say yes just yet. I've been told not to. The FBI said no, it wasn't the man. And their reason for that is, why wouldn't FBI say no? Why would the FBI say no if the air hostess is saying yes?
I read more.
Yeah, I've read more. Go on.
and it's about how he managed to get this $200,000
Okay. Right.
into his bank account.
The FBI said it wasn't him. The fact is, Kenneth was a paratrooper during World War II.
Yeah, it would fit with the D.B.
Cooper was not apparently a skilled jumper to the FBI. That's what the FBI stated. The FBI is shit. Trust me, they can't find fuck all.
Exactly.
Right. As the parachutes Cooper used did not open correctly. Well,
only one of them did.
One did. Cooper jumped using 2 parachutes. Only one was a functioning chute, which, if a skilled jumper noticed one was a training parachute and one was a military parachute, which was not steerable, so many suggest he died in the fall and the money went with him. Unless you're skilled in jumping. But there was no body ever found. No parachute was ever found.
And hardly any money.
And we would like to point out that he jumped out the back of this plane in pitch black darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So
which I will hit on later on.
Which you're not likely to fucking... Not gonna lie, if you jump out of parachute in dark...
a normal person with no experience in jumping in those conditions...
There was 200 miles per hour wind. You're gonna go fucking flying. I don't care who you are. You're gonna jump out and go... Oh, wind and rain, sorry.
Yeah.
So could you survive that, even if experienced?
Yes.
Especially in slip-on shoes and a black trench coat.
You'll be surprised.
Yes. Jumping into a wooded area. No parachute, really. Another side note on Dan Cooper was the Earth's elements for a specific field of work. You're like, oh, damn it. Elements was found in the building of a Boeing plane. I'm only going to touch on this a little bit because he's going to tell you the rest. Pushing the fact he may have worked on planes. Yeah. Specifically Boeing 747s and the new advanced technology.
And 747s.
And new advanced technology.
Yeah.
But he allegedly did not work for Boeing as you couldn't yet get the specific elements anywhere else other than inside this warehouse where they build planes.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. So this is one of the longest investigations in history. The case file for D.B Cooper is 40 foot long.
60 volumes.
So if you now want to add anything else to this, because I have gone over
volumes.
My 3 suspects, and I'm going to fuck up the theory part.
So,
on purpose.
Your third suspect, the one that came in...
The Kenneth.
Yeah.
Yep.
The one that admitted on his deathbed.
No, that wasn't Kenneth. But we'll go with the one that was on his deathbed. Go on.
Sorry, not the one on his deathbed, it was the brother.
Yep, the one who saw the unsolved mystery on TV. And
the one that dogged his brother in.
Yeah.
Well, his brother... They did some digging, and it wasn't the FBI that done the digging, it was Homeland Security.
Nice.
And they looked through his financial records.
Yeah.
And there is a $200,000 deposit. So, obviously, why would he deposit the full amount into a bank?
Fair point.
And it couldn't have been the full amount because...
Yeah, there was money left over. And
which they've proved. With the serial numbers.
Yep.
So that one for me was definitely a...
Yeah.
And to be fair, he got that 200,000 from his father.
Yep.
And they split. So his father passed away and he got his and his brother's inheritance.
Yep. So maybe it's just a brother rivalry.
Well, no, that's the secret.
No, maybe the brother,
because he was told not to give his brother.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
The money.
So his brother found this out and thought, "Fuck it, I'm getting you down as D.B Cooper, so I can have your money."
Pretty much.
I'd do the same.
Because that was the only contradiction.
Yeah, I would have done the same.
He would have got the money, or the money would have gone to the brother if he was in jail or dead.
I would have done the same.
So he was jealous more than anything else.
I would have ratted him out.
Yeah. Because they also had a sister.
Did she jump out planes too?
No, but she got the majority of the
Also,
followers.
before he will continue, it is also a known fact that many people online suspect D.B Cooper as being 17 years old. A 17-year-old gets on a plane, has a bourbon and soda,
Without getting asked ID.
put on some shades, request money, and do this whole investigation. Well, not really investigate. Do this whole ploy. Do this whole like criminal activity, and then jump out in loafers and a trench coat. 17 years old, mate. You can do anything. I used to think I could do anything when I was 17. Now look at me. I can barely get out of bed.
So you hit about the working for Boeing and this specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
So Boeing was actually developing certain flight materials that we would class as not so high tech now.
Which is, may we add, which was the fingerprint.
Yeah.
That's where this bit of information.
Dust, basically, the dust is called titanium dust.
Ooh.
And they were using it to basically build the new flap system, like hydraulic system and stuff. But obviously, we would think, oh, whatever.
Yeah. We wouldn't think nothing of it. We'd think, yeah, whatever, do what you fucking like.
But back then, it was high technology.
Yeah.
Only Boeing and the really top aircraft at the time and military had this kind of technology.
Yep.
I'd like to hit on the plane just before DB jumped as well.
Go on.
Now, from the McCord Air Force Base, they actually sent 2 jets to basically follow the plane.
Yep.
They were told not to get too close to alert the...
Just in case that bomb of food dye will go off.
Yeah. And so there was 1 jet above the plane, 1 jet directly below the plane. Now bearing in mind it was very heavy storm.
200 miles per hour and winds.
Yeah.
And rain.
And rain.
And dark.
And it was dark.
Very dark.
It
was a dark, dark night.
It was in a dark, dark town. We're not starting that.
In Mexico.
In Mexico. Arriba.
You had to, didn't you?
Yeah, I just had to. But a lot of World War II veterans came forward, definitely ex-Paras, and said they are exactly identical to the same conditions that they jumped out.
I suppose you've got to jump out in any conditions.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie, you're gonna have to learn how to.
Yeah.
Whether you're doing it in loafers, trench coat, you're 17.
Yeah. You wouldn't be a para vet if you were 17, though, I'm not going to lie.
I'm running with it.
You'd be running a long time.
I'm running with this theory. He was 17 years old.
But a lot of World War II veterans would say, no, they're
you'd have to jump out
a piece of
condition.
piss.
Yeah.
With the amount of conditions that we had to jump out of. So, I'm not really looking at the jump as as a contender kind of thing. For obviously my discussion later on. So was it the jump?
Going through all now. I still think Dan Cooper being sat here in this room would boost our YouTube credibility so much.
It would do. It would definitely boost our things because I would definitely.
Would you ask him questions?
Oh yeah.
I've only got one question. Why the clip-on tie?
Yeah, he's gone so smart and casual. Why a clip-on tie? He's like let you down.
Like, I'm sure the FBI and other people that loved unsolved cases would ask him a million questions, but I'd sit there opposite him and just
why a clip-on?
Why a clip-on? Honestly,
I'd be like, why sunglasses? Like everyone's seen your face at this point.
No, you got to do it in cool style.
But it's like everyone's seen your face, and then you just go, Superman.
It'd be so good if he did that and this really cool epic soundtrack came on. And he just looked at everyone and was like, another bourbon and soda.
He did ask for a second drink.
It wouldn't surprise me.
He did ask for a second drink. And he took a sip, got everyone into the cockpit,
Mm.
depressurised the cabin,
Yeah.
went to the back staircase.
Mm.
Now I will do this one.
Yeah.
So the 727 is the only aircraft,
Yeah.
apart like back then,
Yeah.
that if they lowered the back staircase down,
Yeah.
it would be below the jets.
Mm-hmm.
So and they did loads and loads of trials of these.
Yeah.
If you stood, which you would do, you know, you got parachute on the back, parachute on the front, money strapped to you, maybe, with the
cute little money belt, a fanny pack,
and it's money pack.
a little fanny pack, a 17-year-old with sunglasses and a fanny pack, wearing loafers and a clip-on tie.
It's a bit dorkish. I'm not.
I'd put it off.
So, as I said, he asked for 4 parachutes.
Yeah.
He took 2, but the other 2 he cannibalised.
Yeah.
He took bits and pieces out of those, like ripcord, certain bungees, different ties and stuff. And some officials do actually say that you would only take the bits he took if you was an experienced jumper.
So this 17-year-old.
It kind of contradicted what the FBI said to begin with.
Yeah.
But the military has agreed you would only take those certain bits. Say, like, you'd only take certain ties to strap stuff to you.
Yeah.
Which they were.
Basically, you're making use of what you got because you know it's fucked.
Yeah.
They fucked you up a little bit, so you're like, fuck it, I'll use this, I'll use this, I can do this.
And the flight school that they actually got that from.
Yep.
Actually apologised. Because they.
Why did you apologise?
Because they made a fuck up.
I suppose.
Like, it was supposed to be 2 primary and 2 secondary parachutes. They gave them they gave them a primary.
Yeah.
2 secondary.
Yeah. And
this training parachute that doesn't actually open. Now.
In all fairness, if D.B Cooper was a malicious, horrible man, he would have looked at them parachutes and killed everyone.
Yeah.
He already had
set the bomb off by this point.
The bomber food dye.
All
over me. Clip on tie.
Take the tie off.
That's why they've got a smudged fingerprint food dye.
So no, he actually, as I said, he cannibalised this stuff, and you would only cannibalise that if you were a professional or trained. And also about the height.
10,000 foot.
10,000 feet. Not above and not below, as you said.
Yeah, he wanted it strictly at 10,000.
He also said reduce the power of the plane to keep it within the margin so it wouldn't stall. And angle it to the sky.
Okay.
So you're basically, the pilot had to then manual control this at this point.
I've got to say, this guy knows planes.
He's very trained in aerodynamics.
Yep.
And Air Force in general.
If me and you tried to hijack a plane, mate, we wouldn't know what the fuck we're doing.
I'd be like, what's that button?
He'd literally be asking buttons. I'd be sat in the back with the bourbon and something like.
Yeah, I don't know.
Let him get on with it. He's cool.
When we land, I'm fucked.
If we land, probably jump out halfway through. We haven't even got the money yet. No, fuck it. No, I've got his shoe and his clip-on tie.
I'll just leave that there for the FBI. Ah, smudged it.
It was me. I admit it was me. I did it.
I knew you were 100 years old. It's a bit about 50.
50 something.
Yeah, but the way you roll, no.
Yeah, but I look younger than what I am.
Nah, true.
Drop in the comments who you think's older, me or him.
No, I'll take that now.
It's a very good discussion, that one.
It will be a good discussion.
Go. Thrown you right off.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
It's gone.
Yeah, the FFA official requested a face-to-face meet with D.B Cooper.
Lovely.
And he denied it. Now, he denied it.
He's wearing shades. You don't accept face-to-face calls when you're wearing shades.
No, or he was working within the FAA, sorry.
And people would recognise his
And
face.
yeah, you would instantly, if you were higher up and you
Yeah,
knew that, you know stuff. But
yeah.
then it could be just like, no, I've got what I wanted. I'm not talking to anyone.
Right.
I'm off.
So say you hijacked a plane and someone wanted to FaceTime you. Would you FaceTime them?
Well, yeah, but I'll point the camera away from me. Like, I'm not stupid.
Actually, no. I would. I'd put them right there and I'd sit there going, hiya, drinking my bourbon soda. I've done a very good, clever thing right now. You're never going to find me ever again.
Why is the plane not taking that? Oh, there's a gun to my head. Who's that sneaking up behind me?
Yeah, who's that? Oh, hi, getting a selfie.
But no, yeah, I wouldn't, to be fair.
Do you want to add anything before we get to our main conclusion?
No.
No?
I think, yeah. I think I'm covered.
Shane is D.B Cooper.
That's for later.
Oh, is that your theory?
Like, you're ruining it now.
Don't tell anyone.
I think it is theory time.
It is. So as much as I really want to believe it was a 17-year-old boy in loafers and a clip-on tie, I can't bring myself to say it. But then I can't really bring myself to say it was anyone else. I mean, Will brought up some really good points, and my suspects range from someone on their deathbed to someone simply doing a copycat like a year later. But it seems very... there's part of it where there's a coincidence of no funny stuff, or I'll do the job. That bit seems to stick with me because it seems like, yeah, he's a bit of a copycat, but at the same time it seems like if he's done it once, he could do it again. And despite the descriptions not being that accurate, and despite the air hostesses actually knowing what Dan Cooper actually looked like, you know, the guy that performed the hijack a year later didn't match them descriptions. It kind of throws my theory into the water. But I would have probably gone with that guy, and yeah, he was the guy that got shot after escaping prison. And even if Dan Cooper is alive today, preferably, possibly, maybe, very slim chance. Even if he's alive today, like, he's performed one of the best hijackings ever in the whole world, and no one would ever come close to it. So my theory would have been the guy that did the hijacking a year later, although I am still leaning towards that 17-year-old. I just love the idea of a 17-year-old hijacking a plane. I think it's great. He's someone I'd be friends with. But that's my thoughts and theories. I literally am run out of thoughts and theories for D.B Cooper. And I'm sure you guys have probably read up on D.B Cooper and found more information, and probably still none the wiser, so you probably sat there same as me wondering who the fuck it was.
Wow. There are many theories, but I'm sticking with the one that, for me, seems a bit plausible and seems more likely. I still believe he had some sort of dealings with Boeing. Maybe he was an outside contractor. See, obviously without the modern day stuff that we've got nowadays, like DNA tracking sources and ridiculously powerful microscopes and everything else, like it's, and that specific, like the titanium alloy, it was definitely used within some sort of aerospace. But then why would you then turn up for work the day after or the weekend after? Now I'd just like to say that when this did happen on that specific day, it was one of the days that Boeing had their 4-day weekend. So they're off for Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday. So you would think, you know, you'd get back with enough time to collect the money if you needed to collect the money. And you'd still have enough time to hike through the woods, get to a rendezvous point, share the money out, and still go back to work afterwards. And again, he had so much knowledge about the plane and how it would work. Like the aft stairwell, the flaps, the specific height that the plane could, and the speed that the plane could fly at without stalling. Now, I will just hit on a point we made earlier. The pilot was an Englander. He just decided and said, look, I have to stop. You'd never get to Mexico on the amount of fuel that we've got. We'd have to stop. And so he stuck a flight plan in, and then later on they landed at this specific thing, but with D.B Cooper. Now, there is one name through I've read through quite a few of the suspects, and one name just rings a bell with me, and his name is Sheridan Peterson. His picture pretty much matched identically. He has aviation background. He's worked for Boeing, but he took early retirement. And the police interviewed him, and he was playing around with them. He was just like, I am, I'm not, I am, I'm not, I am, I'm not. He only said no because when they changed the statute of limitations. Now, let's get to the jump. So, as I've said, some World War II veterans, which he indeed was. He was an ex-paratrooper, and he had training. He had training in what they call smoke jumping. Basically a zero visibility. He was a US Marine Corps veteran, but he did jump a few times, like quite a few times, in his specific field of training, which was zero visibility jumping. As I said, then when he left the military corps, he then went and worked for Boeing as an engineer. As I said, he took early retirement, and with this early retirement came quite a large wage packet from Boeing. And on his deathbed, when he was 95, which would, the age would fit as well, like mid-40s to late 40s, he said to his wife at the time and family, I have a secret, and I'm not going to share. And he died, and when the money, when his finances and everything else came through, it was found that he had quite a substantial saving, and not all of it was accounted for through his retirement. Now, he did have military connections to places abroad that you would be able to sort of siphon money to and bring it back into your own account, not necessarily indicating any possible way of leave it in your capable hands of deciding who you think it is. So, really, next to no theory.
Right. If I had to plan it,
Did it puzzle you that much?
Right, it doesn't puzzle me. What bothers me about it is the fact that so many people have claimed, and the FBI obviously went everywhere with who it could be.
No, I will give you that. Yeah.
Right? And when you have your main suspects or your main thoughts and theories on who it could be, it's very. It's not.
It can blind you in.
It's disorientating because if I was to do a hijacking, right? Now, if I was gonna do an actual hijacking, I'd go around the similar route, make out I have a bomb. I would take a plastic gun, not a real one. I'd see how far I'd get. But with the jump, I would make sure I would know someone who possibly flies planes. And with my jump, I would land on said plane below.
Okay.
So you have it at 10,000 foot, which is very specific to D.B Cooper's. You have it at a certain point where when you jump, you're not necessarily going to get taken by wind, but you're just going to slowly fall.
Okay.
Then I would land on said plane or helicopter.
Okay.
That would be my thought process if I was to hijack a plane. Now, I can't imagine my thought process of a 17-year-old doing that in loafers and a trench coat with no clip-on tie. But you made a very good point.
Sunglasses with zero visibility.
Right. That is how I do it. Yeah, that is how I do it.
You would go the James Bond route.
I would jump out a plane, land in another one.
That would plane transfer. It's been done.
But then again, I'd also need to learn how to jump out of a plane. And saying that, knowing my luck, I'd jump out of the plane and my friend wouldn't be below me. And I'd probably...
He would be right next to us.
Yeah, the plane's here, he's there.
And you can see those blades getting closer.
And I jump and get caught in the fucking thing. Shot out of it. But no, because there's so many thoughts and theories, so many people claimed. I mean, that chap you mentioned, you know, he said on his deathbed, I've got something to tell you. Right? I've already said at some point, I'm going to die, I'm going to be on my deathbed. Whether I say I'm Batman or not is a different reason. But you can imagine an old man having a bit of fun with it going, I'm Batman.
Yeah.
Or I'm D.B Cooper. Yeah. Or whatever.
No, that's fine. But for not to tell them.
Yeah, not to tell them, and you got money which no one knew about, and that's not unheard of.
No, that's not unheard of.
It's not unheard of. And
I did say most of it was accounted for.
And I would also like to point out, right, that, you know, we've had grandparents and people that have died, right, and all of a sudden this money ends up somewhere, and we're like, where the fuck has that come from?
Yeah.
So it's not a rare occurrence.
No.
I'm just saying, like, I could have a trust fund in fucking New York for somewhere. No one knows about it, apart from me. If I die before my time comes and I ain't got time to talk on my deathbeds, no one's going to find out, are they?
Exactly. Then it goes to the state, where the rest of them.
I'd just like to think of a 17-year-old ditching university,
putting his Xbox down or his PlayStation, getting on a flight,
not wanting to FaceTime anyone, getting on a one-way flight.
Just getting them out of the house is bad enough, mate.
Just the thought. Honestly, if it ever came to light that D.B Cooper was a 17-year-old boy, you would fucking go mental.
I would shake that man's hand.
You have gone into so much depth in your case, and I just came up with a few suspects. The FBI claimed it wasn't them, and they're still running around like headless chickens now.
I would just like to say that the suspect, the Sheridan Peterson,
yeah,
the FBI did investigate,
but doesn't match your description.
No.
Oh, he matches.
He matches the description. He matches the age.
Right.
He matches the basically all you would expect, the background of thing.
Okay.
Do you know why they never actually arrested him?
Because he's an old man.
Because he said he wasn't. And under the American state of the when they try somebody, if they don't plead guilty to something, they have no case.
Okay. Well, I'm going to deny every other criminal activity I've ever done weren't me.
Back then.
It was D.B Cooper.
Back then, yeah.
It was D.B Cooper. It was a
D.B
17
Cooper. Honest.
It was a
It was
17
John Doe.
It was a 17-year-old that jumped out of a plane. Oh, but how? Come on, imagine.
But no, they couldn't. They couldn't do anything because they didn't have the money.
Yeah.
There was no evidence.
Yeah.
They can't go off of a parcel.
Okay.
So all they had was his statement,
Okay,
which he
right.
retracted
I'm just
once
saying,
he
all
found
these
out that the
people-
statute
All these people with
that had
like
changed.
military background, learned how to jump, people that claim they were him when they weren't, people that have got leg injuries from jumping out of
On
planes,
the jump.
right? I just want to clarify, how funny would it be? That 17-year-old just rocks up one day as like a, what,
Put
70-year-old?
himself through college and university.
Literally, he walks in, he walks in with the trench coat, and he's like, I think you have my tie. And they're like, sorry? And they're like, the tie I left on that Boeing 727.
Yeah,
With
look,
my
I'll even give you
fingerprints.
the same smudge.
Thank you, I'd like to claim that, and here's some of your money, and you did a very shit job.
I will happily get arrested.
Imagine.
Because it still stands.
Imagine.
The 17-year-old goes down for life.
I only got 10 years left, mate. I
For
don't give a fuck.
fooling the FBI. 90 years old. He's 90 years old and he's like, yeah, I did it.
You know what? You know what I like about it? I just love the fact that a 17-year-old
He-
could have done it.
I'm liking the fact that this D.B Cooper, whoever the fuck he was,
With a name print.
with a name, misname print or
Yeah.
whatever, he fucked over every official.
And do you know what would make it more fun? If he was 17 years old.
Do you know what would really be gutting though?
What?
Is
Turns
it-
out to be a...
Is if it comes out that they made it all up.
What, and the airline just decided there was a hijacking.
It's promotion, either way you look at it.
Oh, this is the plane that D.B Cooper got on.
It's in some museum somewhere, mate. There's a door somewhere.
When I
There's
very,
DB etched into it because he done it before he jumped.
when I very first read this case, right, and I was going through it all, I was thinking, what about if you just hid on the plane?
See, I
Right.
also did that.
I thought...
It was searched, but there's overhead canopies, there's cupboards
Yes.
and different
Right,
things
so
that you
imagine
can hide
he
in.
doesn't. He just opens the back door, right?
He opens the back door. He basically opens the aft stairwell, lowers that,
The biggest
and then
theory ever.
opens the door.
Yeah. The biggest theory
The
ever.
pressure goes up, so the pilot indicates
Mm.
he's jumped.
Yeah.
They then land in Reno.
Right. And
The
even
police
if there was
swarm in.
witnesses, even if there was witnesses, right?
Mm.
I'm just saying, he could have threw one of the parachutes out with his trench coat.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be none the wiser, especially in the dark. You're not going to look out that fucking
You'd
door,
throw,
are you?
you'd throw
You're
your
gonna look
shoes
at-
out. You'd throw everything that
That's
you
why he
can
took
out.
his tie off.
You would plant like something. You would climb into like overhead.
And
Like
then when the
wiring
plane
something.
lands, everyone gets off. You put on your uniform because you're actually a male air host
Mm.
who's 17 years old.
But
I'm not letting it go. I'm not letting it go.
no, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you guys have got a wonderful theory on this, but please, someone agree with me. It could be a 17-year-old.
Drop a comment. Do your own investigation, maybe.
Do your own investigation. We'll be back to the more gruesome stuff in the next episode, I promise. We're the Unsettled. See you next time.
We'll be back.